Hey guys, welcome to episode 14 of the Knit by Day podcast. As always, if you are returning here, welcome. And if you're new here, my name is Deja. You can find me on Instagram at Knit by Day or on Ravelry at Days Jam. One quick announcement / reminder for this podcast, and that is we are in full swing for the Made with Intention Make-Along of 2021. Really, the point behind this make-along is to add something to your wardrobe that's going to match your aesthetic or your style. Really what that means is up to you. It's pretty subjective. So if you think that it would do well in this make-along, then I'm not going to stop you. Post what you will. You can join that through Ravelry, and I'll make that super simple. I will just drop a link below in the description box. You can click that. It'll take you to Ravelry where you can join that group. Or if you'd rather join on Instagram, you can use the hashtag MadeWithIntention2021 to be added. And without further ado, we can go ahead and get into some of the fiber goodness. Last episode, I promised a finished object, and I am here to deliver. This is the pink Fizz sweater by Andrea Mowry. It is a bottom-up sweater that has two lovely lace panels going down each side, both on the front and the back. And if you're a returning viewer, you know full well that this sweater just flew off my needles. Blocking is a little bit of a different story. As you can tell, I have some ends to weave in and some blocking to do. Frankly, my motivation for that has gone out the window because here in southeastern North Carolina, we are hitting very quickly non-sweater weather. So it has been in the 60s and 70s for the last couple of weeks. And yeah, no sweaters. No sweaters will be worn. And so really, it has me lagging on getting this thing onto the blocking mats. Hopefully I can get that done tonight. We will see if the motivation makes it towards this evening. I don't know about that. On the last episode of the podcast, I also had a half-finished object, which means for this episode, if I can get it, we have a finished object. These are my little basic vanilla socks with the rolled cuff. And this is made out of Rocky Mountain yarn in her Bubbles at Midnight sock set. I briefly mentioned on the last podcast that these are loosely based off the How I Roll sock design. And, you know, I really struggled to knit socks for a really, really long time. And for whatever reason, it was this pattern, the How I Roll pattern, that really made things click for me. And so I will add a link below in the description box. And if you're struggling to knit socks or you just can't quite get a certain piece down, I'd really encourage you to take a look at that pattern and see if it also clicks for you. Like I said, I tried many different patterns for a long, long time and just really could not get a grasp on the sock thing until I used that pattern, and there it was. So, keeping with the theme here, this is also How I Roll sock using Rocky Mountain yarns. This is the second color that comes in that sock set. And yeah, I think I mentioned that I was planning on knitting 2 pairs of socks out of that set. The first pair being for me, clearly, because those have definitely been worn. And the second pair is for my best friend. We both have birthdays in April, so I thought for our birthdays, I would knit us a pair of matching socks. And that's what we're doing. Not much yet going on with this one, but I'm hoping to have, might be jinxing myself here, but I'm hoping to have both of those socks done by the end of the week so I can free up some mental knitting space, if you know what I'm talking about. And wow, just like that, we are out of content. I noticed when I was finishing up, or after I had cast off my pink Fizz sweater, I had really just lost all motivation to knit on anything other than basic socks. Part of it is probably due to just, you know, how busy and tired I've been, and part of it is just, once you cast off a sweater, you're kind of good with that satisfaction for a little bit, and you almost need a break. So I took my little 2-week hiatus from knitting, and I had quite a bit of yarn come in the mail, so it is probably time to get back to casting on. And we're going to start with this one. This yarn is from Suburban Stitcher. It is Heavy Metal, which is a gorgeous bronze coppery color with a lot of dove gray in it. This is on her sock base, and I also have her Suri base. Oop. And I'm expecting this combo to become a Felix pullover. Now, I have known yarn to change its mind and decide to become something else after I've caked it up, but that's the plan for right now. I will keep you posted on what it actually becomes, because really, who knows? The second sweaters quantity acquisition we have, which, yes, this is another sweaters quantity because I went a little bit crazy, is actually a pre-order from Qing Fiber. So if you follow them on Instagram, you may have noticed that they were doing a pink velvet kit pre-order. Not to be mistaken for the pink Fizz. Both sweaters are by Andrea Mowry, but one looks a little bit different. And I'll try to pop a picture up here. But anyway, the pink velvet sweater kit, and here she is, comes with 2 of this fingering weight base. I think it's called Yak Single. And it is 65% merino, 20% silk, and 15% yak. Scrumptious. And then also one of these, and this is their Suri alpaca. The colorway I ordered is called Okanimi. It's a gorgeous blue. And something I noticed. So this Suri alpaca is made with 65% Suri, 20% merino, 15% silk. Suburban Stitcher is 75% Suri, 26% silk. And you notice quite the difference here. So this is what I'm typically used to. It's got this gorgeous little haloing effect, and it's pretty airy. This here, compared, this one has a little bit more of a matted, it definitely still has the halo, but it's a little bit more matted, and it's really unlike any Suri blend I have ever used. So I am super excited to see how this turns out. And I think that this blend compared to this one is actually probably a way better composition for the pink velvet specifically. Like I said, super excited. Now this one will definitely become a pink velvet. I've wanted to cast on that sweater for a very long time, and having a kit for it, it really just has to become that, in my opinion. So yeah, really, really excited for this one here. And then I had a little bit of an unexpected acquisition. So I guess what had happened is the post was a little bit backed up, and so I managed to get all of these minis from A Homespun House's Patreon all at once. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months of minis that I honestly didn't even realize hadn't come. And they all came pretty much one day after the other, more or less. Really, really excited to have these. Those of you who have watched any episode of the podcast will know that all of my Patreon minis from A Homespun House go straight into my Habitation throw, which is right here. Now, what you'll also notice, perhaps, if you have been watching this podcast, is that last time I showed this off, I was right here. So, not much progress at all. Yeah, which means I am very backed up on this. Frankly, other things have just caught my eye. I have been very distractible lately, It has been very shiny lately. And so, yeah, Habitation throw. I think I say every single week that I'm going to knit on it, and I just don't. It doesn't happen. I do know for the 2 sweaters that I just talked about, I will need to do a gauge swatch. And obviously when you do a gauge swatch, you knit up the swatch and then you have to block it. So my hope is that in between knitting and waiting and the swatch drying, I will have enough time to get a few rows in on my Habitation throw before I start knitting on something else. We'll see. No promises, because I've promised every episode, and like I said, it just has not happened. And that's it. That's all the fiber related things. And so with that, I will be diving into the segment where I talk about my life and give you an update. If all you came here for was the yarn, I don't blame you. That's why I go most places. So feel free to ditch right here, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Otherwise, let's chat about life. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast yet. Maybe I have briefly, but basically, Christian and I have been trying to get married for a very long time now. I think we originally got engaged in 2018, and then we purposely took a long engagement. We took about a year and a half, 2 years for an engagement, simply because we wanted to plan the wedding and have it be something that we both really wanted. Not to say we didn't want to get married, to say have the wedding exactly what we want. And so, yeah, we took that long engagement, and then what we could have never predicted is a global pandemic promptly canceling that wedding. Thankfully, we did kind of get in early and get everything rescheduled, so we didn't have any issues with having everything just transferred to a new date. And so that date we set for a year out, which is coming up. It is May 16th of this year. So, yeah, it's been working on the final details of the wedding planning, and more importantly, I think, planning our honeymoon. So right now, our plan for the honeymoon is to fly into Las Vegas, pick up a Sprinter van, one of the vans that you can kind of sleep in and cook in and do your thing in. And we will be driving that, hopping around to various national parks in the area. So that would include the Hoover Dam, Grand Canyon, Zion, Yosemite, and Big Sur. And then we would loop back around and end the trip with a couple of days in Vegas to kind of decompress in a nice hotel and maybe do a little bit of gambling. So yeah, we've just been kind of planning that, figuring out which places are most important to us, what we want to hit first, what's going to make the most sense as far as mileage, et cetera, et cetera. And that's been honestly really, really exciting. I am stoked for this trip. And in preparation for the trip, you have to have a fancy camera to hit all of the national parks. So I got what seems to be like the basic beginner's camera, and that is a Canon Rebel T7. Pretty stoked on it. I haven't really done anything with it yet, because I really don't know what I'm doing. So, my hope is to be able to eventually film the podcast with this, but I want to make sure I have the right setup before I switch over. So potentially the next podcast you see will be filmed with this. Just need a little bit of practice first. So look out for that. And as far as other life stuff, I mean, really planning a wedding and a honeymoon takes up all the time. I am, of course, as usual, at the end of my 3-day weekend. So I will be cleaning the house and kind of preparing for my week, as this is technically my Sunday night. And so I will need tonight to prepare for the 4 days ahead. Yeah, that's it. I will see you guys in 2 weeks for episode 14 of the podcast. Do not forget to join the Made with Intention make along if that is something you're interested in. And yeah, Have a wonderful 2 weeks. I'll see you then. Bye.